Welcome back to the deep dive. When we were looking into today's topic, one thing kept popping up again and again. It's this universal quest for self-improvement, right? We all want to change habits, build better ones, but so often we just find ourselves sliding back into those old patterns. It can be really frustrating. What if the secret isn't some huge act of willpower, but something smaller, like intervening at just the right micro moment? So today, we're really digging into the moment of impact. It's a concept from our sources that honestly seems key. It pinpoints when and how you can actually break that cycle. For anyone who's looked into habit science, this goes beyond just, trying harder. It's about using the brain's own machinery, its plasticity, right at that critical point, like little hacks to rewire your defaults.
That's a great way to put it. And it's fascinating because, look, we can think about change all day long. We can visualize it, plan it out. But the actual transformation, that only happens when you make a move, a decisive move, at that very specific point when the habit is, like, live.
Yeah.
In action. So yeah, this deep dive should give you a pretty powerful framework, a bit of a shortcut maybe, to understanding how to actually do it.
Okay, shortcut sounds good. So let's nail this down. What exactly is the moment of impact? Why is that the crucial time? The only time, really?
Right. The moment of impact it's simply that point in time when a habit is actually unfolding, right then and there. It's the only real window you have to jump in and change where it's going. You see, our brains, they really thrive on routine. They build these connections, these sort of if this, then that pathways. Neuroscientists call it cognitive ease. It's like the brain's energy saving mode, an autopilot.
Cognitive ease, like a mental highway just cruises down.
Exactly. But that highway, while efficient, can become a rut. A deep one. And it can actually block out new information we need, stop us from growing, adapting, prioritizing what we really want. So to genuinely change, you have to consciously step in right then. You have to move, think differently, adapt your response, and set a new precedent in that moment.
Okay, so breaking that precedence, disrupting that automatic script, that sounds, well, challenging. Our brains like those scripts. How realistic is it to actually catch yourself and intervene in that split second? What's the biggest block people hit?
Well, the biggest block is often just recognizing the moment is happening and then making the choice to do something different. Because here's the thing, movement, action, even a mental shift, that's what creates the moment of impact. When you truly decide to act differently, that starts changing your behavior. And these changes, especially when they lead to some insight or wisdom, they generate new experiences. And those experiences, they're incredibly valuable, especially the ones that make you confront yourself, your emotions, how you're thinking, the whole thing.
Right, shifting from autopilot to being the pilot, even for a second.
Precisely.
But okay, you said it's this narrow window.
Yeah.
How does that work day to day?
Yeah.
What does it actually feel like to jump into your own thought process like that?
Yeah, good question. It means being ready, almost poised, to make these adjustments right in the moment. But critically, the adjustment isn't usually about changing the external thing, the situation. It's about adjusting your thinking about it. And that change in thinking then ripples out. It affects your emotional reaction, what details you even pay attention to. And yeah, like you said, it's not easy. It takes real cognitive effort. Mindfulness, you have to actively pull yourself out of that comfortable cognitive ease.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical. Let's take an example. Anger. So many people struggle with this, right? Wanting to control their temper. How does the moment of impact work there?
Okay, anger. Perfect example. If you tend to get angry easily, just, thinking I shouldn't get angry doesn't do much. The moment of impact is when, let's say someone says something that usually pushes your buttons. That's it. Right then. Instead of the automatic flare-up, you have to actively, consciously change your response. You need to insert a kind of cognitive circuit breaker.
A circuit breaker, I like that.
Yeah, it could be a super quick reframe in your head, like thinking, okay, their comment says more about them than me. Or maybe it's just focusing hard on your breath for 2 seconds. Anything to interrupt that automatic limbic, fight or flight thing, and give your thinking brain a chance to catch up, even if it feels tiny.
So you're essentially rewriting that if-then script you mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
But how?
Yeah.
Especially when you're feeling that heat rise.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give a really concrete mental micro-action? More than just breathe.
Absolutely. Beyond the breath, which is still crucial, it's about active substitution. So instead of the default thought, if this happens, then I explode, you consciously, deliberately inject a new thought. Like, if this happens, then I pause and just observe. Or, if this happens, I'm going to try to understand why they said that.
Yeah.
But here's the key. This isn't a one-shot deal. It's not magic.
Right, it took time to build the old habit.
Exactly. It took countless moments of impact repeating over time to wire in that anger response. So it's going to take the same kind of repetition, the same iterations of applying the new script in those moments to build and fortify the new pathway. You're essentially building new decision trees in your brain. But the good news is the brain can change. That plasticity is real. It will rewire.
Those atomic efforts, really focused.
That's it. Maximum leverage in those tiny moments.
Okay, the anger example is powerful. Now let's flip it. What about managing something that feels good, maybe too good, like overwhelming excitement or getting infatuated really easily? We talked about stopping negative stuff, but how about moderating, say, that dopamine rush when you fall hard for an idea or a project or even a person? Can the moment of impact help us channel that passion better?
Oh, absolutely. It's the same principle, just applied differently. To manage that kind of overwhelming passion, you have to manage your thoughts about it right at the start. You can't let yourself immediately jump to these idealized, super exciting future scenarios, because that sets you up for a potential crash.
Okay. So in that moment of impact, when you feel that first big rush of excitement.
Yes, right then. Instead of letting your mind race ahead, projecting this perfect outcome, you consciously bring it back, anchor it in the present. You might think, okay, this feels really exciting. I'm going to explore this, but let's be mindful and realistic. Instead of, this is IT, the answer to everything. That immediate little cognitive check-in, that intervention, it helps protect your emotional energy. It's like managing an investment.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like that idea of energy in, energy out.
Precisely. If you pour massive amounts of emotional energy and expectation, unbridled pleasure into something up front, well, then the potential for disappointment on the other side is equally massive if things don't work out. You can only be as let down as you allowed yourself to get hyped up.
Right.
So if you control that initial energy in, that unchecked excitement, you also protect yourself from excessive energy out, the pain or disappointment if it falls through. It really boils down to balance. Moderation. That unchecked excitement in can literally become equal and opposite pain out if things go sideways. You feel the pain proportional to the pleasure you overinvested.
Wow. So this really demands consistent effort.
Yeah.
In that moment. It takes mindfulness, cognitive work. It's about practicing it again and again to rewire things.
Right.
So it gets easier over time.
That's exactly it. And the amazing thing is when you successfully change a habit this way, when you fortify that new pathway, it actually becomes harder to slip back into the old habit than it is to stick with the new one. The new way becomes the path of least resistance. And that process, it fortifies you. Your sense of control, your resilience, you just work on them one at a time. And, eventually you find you've done a major renovation on yourself.
It's a renovation of self. I really like that framing. It suggests something so deep and lasting. So if someone really commits to this, applying these principles consistently, what's the ultimate payoff? What does that life look like?
Well, when you really grasp this moment of impact idea, these atomic habits applied right then, and you consistently use these principles, you start to find that your life, honestly, regardless of the external stuff, where you are, what other people are doing, it becomes, well, a kind of self-inflicted paradise. Maybe paradise is too strong, but a profound sense of inner control and well-being. Because you're taking charge of your reactions, your thoughts, your actions, one moment, one pivot at a time.
That's incredibly powerful. An ongoing process, but so motivating. Okay, so let's wrap this up. The core takeaway seems to be real change, lasting change. It hinges on that critical moment of impact. That's the spot where you have the power to actively step in, interrupt the old pattern, and consciously choose a new direction for your thoughts and actions.
Absolutely. And remember, growth is ongoing. It's a journey. But it's also incredibly empowering. You keep learning new ways to use what you already know, how to adapt, how to build something really solid within yourself.
So for everyone listening, maybe something to think about after this deep dive, thinking about your own life, the challenge you're facing right now, what might be the next moment of impact you could identify? Where could you be ready to just actively shift your reaction, even if it starts with just one conscious pause, one different choice?